Hey there, Danny here. Welcome to my ramblings. Oh, sorry, let me adjust this a little more. Tonight we're going to talk about public servants and woke society. What I'm gonna say may not be popular. That's not for me to judge. Again, these questions are meant specifically to invoke thought in everybody. So tonight might be a little bit longer. I am sorry if you hear the wind. We are still in California, no AC, but it's cooled off. So I've got the windows open, so it cools off in here, which it has a lot. Tomorrow we will be heading back to Arizona. So I don't vote by party lines. I vote by platforms. And if I don't like any of the platforms that the potential is putting out there, then I'll pick the one that's least likely to do the least amount of damage to the majority of our society. With that said, I don't do politics and I don't do arguing. This is meant strictly to hopefully make people look at things a little bit differently. It was pushed, this huge woke society, about us being understanding about certain things. But I think that some of our government officials who have helped push forward the woke culture, the woke society, didn't think of this before they started doing it. But if we're going to get really specific and we're really going to get down to the woke, the nitty-gritty of what words mean, let's talk about public servant. That is a government official or employee. 2 words, public servant. What does it mean? It means that they are a servant of the public. At some point, our government took it upon themselves, and it doesn't matter why they did it, or even that they did it. We can't go back and change that, so there's no reason dwelling on that. But somehow it got switched to our public servants, our government officials, are serving themselves and not the public. And correct me if I'm wrong, do they not take an oath? Yet they go in not very wealthy, but they come out extremely wealthy. And they make this gigantic career out of it. Well, I get that, but servant, public servant, that means you're to be of service to the public. That's a higher calling. And somehow our culture has turned it into this greedy thing of benefiting themselves and don't care about the public. And I want to point out a few things that may not be popular with a lot of people, and it may be controversial with some people. And that's okay. You don't have to all agree with me. We can agree to disagree. But when I was younger, 17, 18, my grandmother had passed. And right before she had passed, my Uncle Kevin, one of my favorite uncles, I have plenty of, most of my aunts and uncles are my favorite, but Kevin is held dear to my heart more than a lot. And the reason being is because my Uncle Kevin is a great man, but on the surface he comes across as very arrogant, but he has the biggest heart deep down. But he doesn't expose that part very often. And while I was younger, I saw that great heart inside of him since I was a child, and he knew that I saw it. He just knew it. And so right around that time, 17, 18, I don't even remember what was going on in politics at that point, because I was 17, 18. I really wasn't that into it at that point. I didn't see the importance of it at that point. I was still young. But my uncle had, I don't know who he was talking to. It was at my grandma's house. There was a bunch of people there. Kevin liked to argue his points about everything. I think that's where my oldest son would get his like to argue, was from my uncle. Anyways, he made this comment that for some reason has always stuck in my head. And I've 100% believed that he was right on it. And he said that we need a businessman as a president so we can run this country properly. And I went through, as I started to get into understanding politics and everything else as I got older, I started to believe he was correct on that 100%. And the funny part about this is my uncle is a huge Donald Trump fan. So much so that I did not like him. I thought he was too crass. But my uncle told me, just read the books. So in my younger years, I did read the books. I did understand them. It didn't make me like him anymore. But I knew that my uncle liked him. So when the time came around and he ran for his presidency, a lot of the things that he said on his platform made a lot of sense, and I had hoped that he would run it like a business. And essentially that's what he did. We were doing pretty good at that point in time until the pandemic hit. And I think that's where it all went downhill. But not due to his fault. If that pandemic didn't hit, I think he would have stayed in office. But that's just speculation on my point. And it really doesn't have neither here nor there right now. But the point is that I'm trying to get across to everybody is, when did these government officials decide that they were going to be of service to themselves and not to the public? They essentially are public servants. We're the public. They should be dealing with us, and we should be their top priority. Servant in itself is service. So they're not being of service to anybody but themselves. And the way that our gas prices have gone up and everything else, and how we're sitting here not knowing what's going on and where we're headed, kind of speaks that we're back to them serving themselves, not the public. I'm not putting in I'm not putting it out there so that you vote for Trump. That's not my point at all. My point is to say is that we need a businessman in there, and we need to run this as a business instead of running it for the benefit of these public servants. They get major campaign donations from major corporations and big business. And I have nothing against those corporations or those big business. But they tend to buy these public servants and create it so the laws fit them more than it fits us. And these public servants are investing their money in these things and then helping put out legislation so their money grows. They don't care about the public. It's plain to see. Just watch or read the news. Listen to any of the stuff out there. They're not they're not a public servant. They're supposed to be. That's what they are. But they're serving themselves, not the public. With that said, the question tonight is, when did the public servants decide that it was okay to serve themselves? And why? Why do they think that it's okay to still do it in this woke culture that we have? Like I started this channel with fear and change. That's how they control you. That's how they control us. That's how they control the public, is by fear. That's why when somebody wants to give me fear in a sales pitch, you just lost my business. You're not going to manipulate and control me by fear. That's why I don't get into the American dream. I lived it. I lost it all in 2009 after the 2008 crash. And I knew I didn't want to go back. I knew I didn't want to live that dream. I also knew that I wanted my freedom. And in order for me to be able to do that, there had to be a way for me to be able to support myself. And doing DoorDash with my RV has been a means to support myself so I can live my dream. And I think that we've all been put under a lot of fear to pursue these things. Probably not a good thing to say, but there is a verse in the Bible that clearly speaks of gold and silver being idolized. And if you read the Bible or you know about the Bible, if you can't see some of the things that are happening right now and where we're headed, I pray every morning and every night that it opens more people's eyes, because we're heading down a horrible, horrible path, and I don't think any of us realize it. I think certain people see it. I think that they're judged as conspiracy theorists. Maybe some of what they say and think are conspiracy theories, but there may be some truth to some of it. I don't get into conspiracy theories. Like I said, I just want to make everybody's life a little bit easier. And we do have everything going on because, we're going to be coming up to an election and the economy's where it's at. This might be the perfect time for me to just start throwing my 2 cents out there about these questions. Not that anybody has to follow or listen to what I'm saying. I just invite you to question everything yourself. Question it. Does it feel right? Because public servants are supposed to serve the public, not themselves. And a lot of reform and a lot of legislation and other things over the decades have favored our public servants more than it has favored any of us public citizens. So, with that said, I'm going to leave you with this tonight. We will be traveling back to Arizona tomorrow. And then Monday I'll be back to work. And hopefully Monday night or Tuesday night I will have another video for you. I do have more questions. They're kind of like what this is, but they kind of expand a little bit more and then take us outside of this. Now, these questions right now are particular to this time, at this moment in time, and what's going on. But when I bring together the challenges and then the questions and everything else, it's going to tie it all together so it can be utilized in many different forms. you'll see as we go. I actually, honestly, this coming out here to California and staying on a little ranch thing with my friend and helping take care of her and all of this while she went through her surgery has kind of given me the time and the freedom to really think and really come up with some real goals to where we're headed to. Before, I kept talking about flying by the seat of my pants, which I was, and most of what I've said in these videos are from the heart. They're from my soul. I think long and hard before I put out these videos. You're okay, my hold on. So with that said, have a great night. I will see you in a couple of days, and let's start opening our minds and seeing what we're gonna see out there. Night, guys.